Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly Forex analysis. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be breaking down what's happened this week and potentially what could be happening next week as well. But I hope you do enjoy the video, guys, and with all that said, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first up, like always, we've got Euro USD. So for this pair, not too much happened this week until the very end, where we did see some news come out between Russia and Ukraine, which did affect a lot of the Forex pairs. As you can see, a bit of a downside move there for Euro, but all in all, we're kind of just moving sideways and retracing that kind of bullish leg we had the week before. So coming into the week, I did say we're looking for sells at this resistance, coming to that previous lower high, and also strong area resistance. And we did expect to see some type of retracement after a very, very bullish leg that Euro USD gave us the week before. So we did see that move to the downside. But coming into next week, I will be looking for longs now, looking to see if we can push back up into that same resistance and find a higher low somewhere. Dropping down to the 4H time frame, you can see very, very corrective. So I'm expecting the market to fall over a little bit further before I do look for those longs to push it up higher. And I'm looking for mainly this 1.12800 area, which if I just move that across, you can see was really nice support and give us that move to the upside a couple of weeks ago. So I'm looking for the market to come back generally into this area, and I will be looking for longs to take it right back up into that resistance. Again, we might not hit that resistance in 1 week, but I'm looking for the market to find a higher low and push up back into 1.14800 and potentially some higher highs after that. So mainly looking for buys for Euro USD. I'm not really looking to try and sell the pair. I believe there probably is a bit more downside, but it's probably just price correcting itself. So I'm not really interested in that opportunity. The only way I'll look for shorts for Euro is if we break through this level strongly, then I do think we can come back down to lows for Euro at 1.11 almost. So we could come back down to those lows, but I do want to see price break underneath that level. If we come and hold, we'll definitely be looking for longs. Again, you don't have to target all the way up there. There's probably some levels on the lower time frames you'll have to target, some wicks down the 4H, but I'll be looking for the full swing back to highs at 1.14800 for Euro USD for next week. Okay, so now we'll take a look at USD JPY. So as you can see for this pair, more upside this week, which was expected. We were trading at this resistance, but I did say I'm expecting this resistance to break, which is that price swing high down the left, acting as resistance over there. We were putting these highs and lows in the 4H, so I was expecting price to break through and see it drive back into those highs around the 116,300 area, which we did come into. We didn't quite take out the highs though, which I was expecting. As you can see, price didn't quite take it out before we did get that news coming. But overall, JPY is still bullish. We're still trading above that area of support and still holding onto a trend line there as well, maintaining those higher lows. So there's no real reason to look to sell this in my opinion yet. Yes, we'll come into highs, and yes, potentially we could reverse. But looking at the daily, looking at the weekly, the market is still bullish, and we could definitely see price push one more time to the highs and actually go and take out that wick and see some new highs, maybe even to 117. So I'm still bullish on JPY. If we can hold above that trend line and that support, there'll be some nice buys on this area. We haven't really used it as support yet, so this will be the first time. If we can hold this at 115,500, another push back into those highs, which is the main setup I'm looking for JPY, back into those highs. Maybe you can look to hold it on further, maybe 117, but primarily looking for a push back to highs for JPY. Again, the only way I'll look for sells for the reversals if we get below and if we can take out that trend line, maintain that kind of impulsive move, and then we can look for lower highs, start to target this low here, then we've got that low. So there's a few areas we can look to target if we did go and break through that level, but as of right now, there's not enough information saying that we are. So still maintain that bullish bias, still looking for a push back to highs for JPY. If we do break underneath the trend line and the support, we can probably switch our bias to sells and start to target some of these levels, but I'm mainly focused on the buys for next week for JPY. Okay, so USD CAD up next. So this pair, as you can see, not too much from recent price action, pretty much just moving sideways there. Strong push overall, haven't really gone anywhere. We could still roll over, we could push higher. So again, not overly bullish as I was last week. Coming into the week was quite bullish, looking for price to continue, looking for that higher low or the break above this level to get involved in a nice break and retest and right to those highs. However, as you can see this week, dropped to the 4H time frame, very strong reaction to begin with, and that ever since kind of just sideways price action since then. So USD CAD, if we hold this again for a third time, I do think we can roll over, go and actually break through this support, break out the consolidation and into this recent low here at 1.25600. So if we come into this resistance again early in the week, so not too far away from it right now, and we start to reject it again, I will be looking for sells for a push again, firstly into this support here, of course, because we reject it so many times and price could obviously reverse back to my entry. So we'll be looking for a push into this support first, but I do think we can break through and see a push into 1.25600. Only if we clear this resistance, I will look for buys and back into those highs up there. You can see this support is what gave us that last move up. Price has been trying to get above it ever since, failing to do so. So if we do get back above and we see that continuation, we'll be looking for that break and retest and looking for a push into 1.29500. So all in all, USD CAD is consolidating, essentially looking for sells if we hold that resistance again, but if we do break above, we'll be looking for buys and take it back to those highs at 1.29500. So coming to the week, mainly looking for sells, but if we break above, we'll go bullish and look for push into highs.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so up next we've got Euro Pound. So Euro Pound fell over this week. We were looking for continuations higher coming into this resistance turn support, looking for the market to hold that area. You can see in the 4H time frame we consolidated really at that area before we did go and break it. So we failed to hold that area, now looking a little bit bearish, but knowing where we are on the higher time frames, we are still predominantly looking for buying opportunities. Again, if I just go to the monthly time frame quickly, you can see very, very strong support, which we're still trading at. We don't really want to sell into this. Yes, on the intraday, there will be some sells. But longer term, you know, swing, if we do hold that area, we definitely could see a move to the upside. Obviously, we could break through, and if we do break through that support, there's a lot of downside for us. But currently, we're still holding, so still expecting that bigger swing to the upside for Euro Pound. But you can see we're looking quite bearish right now, so looking for that momentum to kind of die out, find support. And then we'll be looking at buying opportunities mainly at this low here, which is where we had that pound and euro news come in, where we spiked the downside, taking stop losses, taking liquidity before we had that big push up. So the market could come back down, you know, fill this area and then see some upside. So we'll be looking for buys around the 0.83 300, 0.83 200 area of support, which is basically just this price when low, this general area here. It doesn't have to be perfectly at this low, but if you do come into this support, we'll still be looking for buys. Essentially, if we stay above that level, we'll be looking for buys back into the same area which we broke through this week, which is that resistance there, resistance support. We'll be looking for buys back into that same area at 0.84100. So looking for buys for Euro Pound, again a little bit of a way to the downside, so got to keep an eye on Euro Pound, not looking to get involved straight away. Hopefully we can make our way around this area, looking for that higher low formation and then buys back up into that level for next week. Okay, so next up we've got AUD USD. So as you can see for this pair, nice move to the upside this week. I was actually coming in with a bearish bias for this one, looking for a push back down into 0.7. However, we found support straight after the market just kind of rolled over at the end of the previous week. and I did say potentially there might be some support here, so we could potentially see some retracement, which we did. However, we didn't see that low high form, and price just kept going and actually blew straight through that resistance there. So for me, I do think the market is slowly potentially reversing. We're holding a very, very strong level of support and resistance on the weekly time frame, which you can see a resistance there for that massive sell-off, support there, big move to the upside, and we're now holding that area again, which potentially could give us a reverse to the upside. Of course, if you can hold that area. So potentially AUSD could still see some more upside. Now I'm looking for more upside this week. I think we can see a bit of dollar strength at the start of the week, but I do think later on we can see some dollar weakness. So for me, I'm mainly looking for buying opportunities. Right now I'm still looking at this as retracement. So from this 0.71 area, nice psychological level, and also nice support here as well. If we can hold that, we'll be looking for longs to take that higher back into my target, which is 0.72600, or if we do get below, we'll be seeing what this level can hold at 0.70500. See if we can hold this level of support, and then again we'll be looking for longs to the upside. If we do take this level, then obviously there's pretty high chance we'll head back down to lows. So nice break and retest there to take it further to 0.7 could be an opportunity on the lower time frames. But like I said, I'm mainly expecting more upside for AU. So I'm looking at 0.72700 area as targets, and these are the areas where we're looking to buy at 0.71 and 0.70500 for next week. Okay, so now we'll take a look at NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, we did see some upside this week, which was expected. Again, coming to the week, we did have that bullish bias. I was telling you guys how we're trading at a very, very critical level of weekly support. As you can see, big move to the upside there. Another one, nice false break of that level. Again, this is the first time price is coming back into that area all the way since March 2020. So long time since we're at this very, very critical level of weekly support. So we were expecting to see some upside, especially after such a strong move into the level. We're looking for the market at least to go and retrace some of that move. So coming into the week, we were looking for buys. I did say back into this kind of general area, looking for buying opportunities, nice support there, resistance, looking for that double bottom, 4 move higher. Also we had that 0.84 area, and we did see that nice move to the upside coming into our first area, our first target I should say, which was this low here, term resistance, nice wick, and again term resistance there, 0.85. I did have a second target at this area, which I still think we can go and hit for NZD CAD at 0.85600. But first, looking at price action now and looking how we're rejecting that area, I do think we can see some downside for NZD CAD, either a higher low form or price to come back and test that same level last week before going bullish again. So still looking at going bullish for NZD CAD. Target's still at that same level at 0.85600. Right now we are having a tough time breaking through this area, so looking for some downside for NZD CAD, but as long as we stay above 0.84, which is giving us our 2 previous higher lows, as long as we stay above this, I'm looking for that bigger move to the upside still. Again, first target's got to be that same resistance, because again price could reject it, but I'm looking at some highs at 0.85600 for next week for NZD CAD. Okay, so now on to pound and NZD. So this pair we did see a bit of a move to the downside this week. Nothing too special, but we did see a nice drop, which was expected. The market's been rallying to the upside very, very aggressively over the past few days, past few weeks even, and coming into our weekly level of resistance here. So we're expecting to see some downside. You can see big drop to the downside, fairly big drop there, false break of that area. Again, first time since April, March 2020. Since we've been at that level. So we're looking for some downside for pound NZD, either to retrace this, potentially a reversal, but just to retrace some of this bullish leg on the weekly time frame. So coming into this week, looking for sells. I did say some sells, either at the highs here, which is a bit more aggressive, or on the break outside of this consolidation, which we didn't actually get the retest of. We did see a nice break, never really got the retest, and coming in at the end of the week, again choppy price action, the market didn't hold that area. So we're actually trading back inside that consolidation, but I'm still predominantly looking for sells. Only where I'd look for buys potentially, I probably wouldn't even entertain it really, but if we do blow out to the top, and come back for the retest and hold, then yeah, we probably will see continuations, just because all the time frames, all the higher time frames are still bullish. So more than likely we'll still see price push further. But predominantly looking for sales of very key level resistance, and I still think we can see some downside. I'm mainly looking for price to come back into this resistance here, which we broke through. I'm looking for price to come back and retest, which is pretty much at 2 at the dot. So still looking for downside back into that level. First, I do want to see price get back outside of this consolidation area. I don't really want to be trading inside of this area. It would be great if price was to break and back underneath, come back to retest and look to roll over, and first target being that recent low there. But as long as price is in here, I'm not really too interested. There could be some nice sells coming back into that resistance, back down again with your first take profit at the low of the range, then second, then third. But like I said, predominantly looking for those selling opportunities. So if we come back into here, I'll see what type of price action we get. Again, a bit more of a risky trade, but if it does pay out, catching around 300-400 pips to the downside. If not, we'll wait for the break and retest of the low of the consolidation, and again looking for sales, first target being the previous swing low, but looking at that daily area there. So more downside for pound NZD if we can hold this resistance or get that break and retest, and targets at that recent low or that daily resistance turn support for next week for pound NZD. Okay, so next up we've got CAD JPY. So CAD JPY, we did see some upside this week. Again, the market was overall consolidating when I was speaking on it last. And I did say not really trying to get involved too much in this area, but a nice break and retest which we had, which gave us some more consolidation to be fair, but we did eventually get that move to the upside, and price respected that 90 level of support. So CAD JPY gave us that move to the upside, didn't quite come back to highs, was looking for price to come into this level here, 91,800, 92 area, which we just about missed, again before the news came in, but I'm still overall looking bullish for CAD JPY. You can see we put this high in now, and this high here as well, putting those higher lows in. So I'm looking for continuation back into that 92 region and potentially even breaking through those highs up there. So I'm still bullish for CAD JPY. For me to turn bearish, I need to see this support taken out or some more higher lows putting in, and then we can potentially roll over. But in terms of momentum, looking at the daily, looking at the weekly even, price is still quite bullish for me. So I'm still looking for more upside, long-term target, still looking at 92, 93 area. I'm still holding on to that support. So yeah, I'm looking for longs for CAD JPY right back into the highs which we just dumped from on Friday there, which is 91,800, potentially 92, 93, but for this week, just looking for a push back up into that resistance. So we'll be looking for that higher low, and then looking to go long. Like I said, if it does break through this, we're probably gonna drop lower, and maybe even see a bit of a reversal where we can start to target lows down here at 88. So that's the only way I'll look for sales, but as long as we stay underneath, a push back into highs is what I'm favoring. So more upside for CAD JPY I'm expecting, and mainly looking for sales at this support, which we're not too far away at 90, around 9200 for next week for CAD. Okay, so next up we've got pound USD. So overall you can see this week pretty much nothing happened. You can see that represented quite well by all those wicks down the daily chart, kind of just sideways price action for pound. Coming into the week was looking for the market to fall after rejecting 1.36, but we found some support and we kept trying to break it, but kept failing to do so. So later in the week I was shifting my bias more to the bullish side of things for price to return back to highs, which we did. We did reject it quite aggressively as well, but we did see that move higher. I'm still actually looking for continuation to the upside for pound, because for me pound's at a very interesting point where the market's either actually getting ready to reverse, putting in potentially its first higher low, after these lows and highs forming here, giving us that bearish trend. Potentially the market's putting its first higher low to actually go bullish, take the high out and see a reversal, or the market simply, after putting this high here, is simply just looking to continue back to the downside. So it's kind of at that area where it's making up its mind if it wants to go bullish or bearish. So we'll be staying on my toes a little bit, especially after a week like last week, which overall, isn't giving us too much information as to where it's going to go long term. So pound USD for me, since it's still slowly putting in higher lows in the market and respecting support and breaking through resistance, I am expecting price to continue higher for pound USD and push back into 1.37, which is the next psychological level, and this support here, which price broke through and started to give us this big move and actually had that reversal from. So I'm expecting 1.37 to hit, which is basically the highs, to be honest, for pound USD. As long as we can stay above this trend line, respect that trend line, and respect that support as well, maintaining those higher lows. So price is trading, in and around that area. So coming into Monday, London session, can be looking for some buys early on if we're holding it, of course, and targets straight at that resistance got to be the first one, because obviously price is rejecting that now. But if we can break through, we can be looking at 1.37. The only way I'll be looking for sells is if we were to break through the trend line, through the support impulsively, looking for some correction, and then we can get some nice sells to the downside. And first target would be this area here at 1.34500, and then the lows at 1.33600. So I can both see upside and downside, but we'll play it as it goes along. Right now bullish, looking for buying opportunities, mainly something like this for pound, back into those highs around 1.36 and then 1.37. But if we do go and break through, like I said, and hold underneath, we'll switch my bias, and we've got targets to the downside. Either which way, 200 pips to the upside, looking at, actually my bad, 160 pips to the upside and about 156 pips to the downside. So either which way, there's still a lot of pips to catch for pound. So bullish bias for pound, as long as we can hold the trend line and support, breakthrough, we'll flip my bias for next week for pound USD. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to pound CAD. So as you can see for this pair, we did see some downside, which we were expecting at the start of the week. We were coming into a fairly strong level of resistance. So we were expecting the market after that fairly strong rally as well to see some downside, which we did see quite quickly. But I did say I'm looking for that next higher low, because I do think the market is getting ready to push on further to the upside, and we're looking at price coming into 1.74500, which is that last support there around that area. So I do think this resistance will break potentially next week. Again, don't want to actually long into that resistance, even though I do think it will break. Better off just to wait for it to break, so you can catch a nice retest around the 1.73 mark, then look for long opportunities into 1.74500. But if we do respect this level again, we can look for some longs, further down, back into that resistance, and see if we can get the break after. But predominantly not really looking for sells. Yes, we're at a nice area of resistance, which has respected before, and potentially could roll over again, but I'm not expecting price to do that, looking at the higher time frames especially. So I do think we can see some downside from this area. Again, I do think it'll be short-lived. If we do come back into this support, great place for some longs, back into that resistance. Then if we can get the break, we'll look for the break and retest. Again, targets back at 1.74 for the week. So looking for buys for pound CAD. I'm bullish on this one. I'm expecting the level 2 break. If we do see a downside move from that, buying opportunities will be good, looking to buy it back up into that level. Or if we do see the breakout, nice break and retest, looking for longs, and the targets at 1.74500 for next week. Okay, so now we've got pound JPY. So pound JPY, we were expecting price to push to the upside this week. We were maintaining a nice trend line in the 4H time frame, and we were back above this area here of support at 155,500. So I said, as long as we stay above this area, which we did come back and retest, looking for longs for price to push back into highs for next week, which we did get eventually just before the week ended. So to me, the market is still quite bullish for pound JPY. You can see the trend line I've drawn here. Price is actually still trading above this area. So for me, price is still bullish for pound JPY. If we were to break below the trend line and below that support, then I'll be looking for sells, and I do think we can make it back down to these lows. But at this point, looking at the daily and the weekly, although we are react to that weekly resistance, I do think we can see some higher highs past this point here at 158,200. So I'm still looking for longs for pound JPY. Again, we had that reaction to the news So price might see a little bit more downside. So if you don't hold that trend line along with this support, we'll be looking at longs again at 155,500, and if we can stay above that, looking for the bigger swing all the way back to highs and at 158,200. So more longs for me for pound JPY, expecting price to go higher. Like I said, if we do break underneath that support, I'll change my bias, but as of now, weekly still bullish, daily still bullish, and 4H is still bullish as well. So not much reason to be looking at short opportunities. So more upside for this one, targets at 158,200, and if you do get there, I think we'll probably see some new highs next week. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at gold. So gold this week, big move to the upside. We still maintain that bullish momentum from the week before. I said that I was looking for sells for gold to see if we can hold this resistance at 1830, but we failed to do so. We broke through that and we didn't put in that lower high, which I was looking for gold. After this very strong impulsive move, I was looking for that next lower high to roll over, but you can see, especially with the news coming out on Friday, big push to the upside there for gold. So with this momentum and the fact that we're trading back above 1830, I do think gold can actually go a lot further. I'm now looking at gold coming to 1870, which it almost actually hit on Friday, to be fair, not too far away, but I do think we can actually reach 1910, so back into the 1900s. So I'm looking for gold to see a lot more upside. Of course, it's a very strong area of resistance, which I think we can maybe see some downside, retrace some of the price action over the past few days. But for me, still looking upside, and targets for the next couple of weeks or so is 1910 for gold. So taking that information into the 4H, looking for opportunities. Again, we do have that break and retest up there, which would be a nice opportunity to get involved with. So we'll be looking at that, certainly if that momentum keeps going back into 1910. But like I said, we might go and retrace some of this price action before we do see that continuation. So hoping for a little bit of retracement back into 1830 again. So if price can come back and hold that, you can see nice support there as well. Previously, come back and hold that support, that would be great. Looking for longs back into 1870, and then after that we'll look at 1910. So more upside for gold. There might be some nice sells coming into that resistance there, on the way back down, but for me, you'd just be taking advantage of the retracement, nothing more. I think the bigger move is still to the upside. So I'm focusing on gold longs back into 1870 and then 1910 for next week. Okay, so last but not least, we've got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin holding on to that prior swing high there at 44k, or around about 44k. Nice wicks to the upside, but eventually just holding that resistance. And we're trapped underneath this support, which I said last week, if we can hold that or break back underneath, I'm looking for price to head back down into this support and the lows all the way down here as well, which we didn't actually do. We held on to that support. So for next week, I think there can be some short-term buys for Bitcoin, the way it's moved very impulsively into that resistance. So I do think there can be some short-term buys back up into that 44k area, but again, I wouldn't hold on to those buys for too long. Certainly if the market is rejecting that resistance there, we're probably likely to roll back over. So if you do come back into this area, sales will be looking good. Obviously we'll wait for some confirmation, but looking for sales in that area, buys from here. And of course, if you can break through this, we can push the trade a lot longer and maintain that kind of overall bearish trend that Bitcoin has got going on. And targets will be at this support, which gave us that big move up. So looking for push into 36,500. I think we can push up one more time for Bitcoin, and if we hold that resistance, I think we can really roll over, especially if we break through that support. And that will give us the swing to the downside. So for me, Bitcoin's still bearish, looking at the trend on the daily, on the weekly as well. But I think some short-term buys, maybe first half of the week, and after that, potentially if we hold into that sell-off, and especially if you break through that support, right back down into 36,500.
Okay, so that's the end of the video, guys. Hope you all enjoyed that and found that useful. Like always, guys, any questions, agree, disagree with my analysis, or you just didn't understand something, let me know in the comments down below and I will get back to you. Like always, if you are enjoying the content, like the video, it does really help the channel out. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads in the future. But I hope you all have a great weekend and I'll catch you all next week.